Welcome back everybody to Moderate Mods, and today we're going to be dealing with the 1969 Ferrari Dino 246 GT. In my review you will have probably seen that I really don't like this car at all, really, to be honest. And obviously we can't change the looks of this vehicle, which is a shame because yeah, that's one of the worst aspects of this car. But we should hopefully at least be able to change up the engineering aspects to it enough to at least make it a fun driver's car. So let's get to the circuit and see what this car can do in its stock form, which to be honest I have not got high expectations for. So yeah, let's take a look at some of the stats first as well. So yeah, it's in C class, which is decent. We don't have very many cars on this series so far, we haven't had very many cars on the series so far that are in C class. So yeah, there are the stats: 6 speed, 4.8 handling, 4.5 braking. Handling and braking is fairly decent. Acceleration is pretty poor, and so is the launch. And it has 195 horsepower, 165 pounds-feet of torque. It's 2.4 litre V6 engine, which isn't all that much to be honest, but it does only weigh 2,380 pounds, so it is quite lightweight. But yeah, really rather weak power and torque levels there. But yeah, let's see what it can do on the circuit. So yeah, this engine has been used 2 times in other cars. The Fiat Dino Coupe, which I really rather like, and the Lancia Stratos, which again I also really rather like, and the engine is used far better in those cars than it is in this. Yeah, it doesn't even have a good launch on this car. I have no idea why, but I can speculate that it's probably because you were expecting non-Ferrari owners or non-previous Ferrari owners and people that generally don't buy sports cars to buy this, because it would have been quite cheap and in comparison to other Ferraris, and yeah, quite mass-produced in comparison to other Ferraris as well. So I imagine they didn't want too much of a quick launch on the go to frighten off any new customers. But it does mean that this car is incredibly slow in terms of acceleration as a result. Although obviously the Fiat Dino is slower than this in terms of acceleration, but that just has so much more charisma to it. It looks better as well, and it's more practical, and it's just way more fun to drive, whereas this just doesn't feel great at all. And I know it might come down to the fact that it's got a Ferrari badge, and therefore expectations are incredibly high for a Ferrari, especially from the 60s in terms of what they can and can't do. And obviously a Fiat you wouldn't expect to be all that quick or great looking from the 60s maybe, or at least not sporty like a Ferrari should be. And yet it just is. It's just a great car, that Fiat, and yet in this, the engine and the looks don't work, and yeah, it's just not all that great in terms of handling either, and the launch is pretty poor. But it does rev quite high, and we've managed a time of 1 minute 19.279 for our first lap time, which is decent. But yeah, I just do not feel inclined to drive this quick, and I just don't enjoy driving it in general, to be honest. So yeah, I am hoping that I can at least improve it enough to at least be enjoyable to drive. Like I said, I can't change the looks of the car, but that's just the way it goes with this game. But yeah, hopefully at least in terms of speed, acceleration and handling, we can at least make it an enjoyable car to drive, and at least when you are driving it, you're not having to look at the looks of the vehicle, especially at the front, all that much. Especially if you go in interior mode, in terms of the camera and how you're driving. But yeah, still have to deal with all the other flaws that this car has when it comes down to the handling and the acceleration, and the braking, and the speed as well. Which yeah, this does not feel fast. It does not feel exciting. It feels extremely lethargic in terms of getting up to a certain RPM limit. But massive increase there of nearly 7 seconds at 1 minute 12.923, which is good. It just wants to oversteer a lot as well, as you can see. I'm even doing 70 miles an hour, and it's just sliding all over the place, which yeah, does not hint at good balance or good traction. And yeah, this is one of those cars that has continued to return to Forza games time after again, and yeah, I just don't see why. I really don't know of anyone that really enjoys driving this car. Maybe it's a good car to upgrade fully and race in high classes or anything like that, but In terms of stock driving, it's incredibly weak, especially compared to other cars from Ferrari at the time. I mean, just look at the Daytona, for instance, which is everything that this isn't. It's good looking, it's powerful, it's quick, it's got a great sounding engine. Sure, it doesn't handle all that great, but certainly is far more fun to drive than this is. And our final time there of 1 minute 11.471, which is far from the worst that we've had, because obviously this is not the slowest car that we've had on this series so far. But yeah, let's get to the garage and see how much we can upgrade this car and hopefully make it at least a little bit more enjoyable to drive. So here is the car in all of its horrific glory. Yeah, I really don't know what they were thinking when it came down to the styling. Those lights do evoke the kind of a style of the E-Type, so maybe they were going for a mid-engine version of that, but yeah, it's really not all that good in terms of styling. Practicality wise, it's decent. You've got a full size spare wheel, you've got a decent sized boot, but yeah, you've obviously got no back seats, being only a 2-seat coupe with a mid-engine, and yeah, that also makes it again worse than the Fiat, because the Fiat is more fun to drive. It's just generally a more enjoyable car to drive in general, and obviously it's more practical in a way that this isn't. So yeah, really isn't much great about this car. But 0 to 60 in 7.9 seconds, 0 to 100 in 21.5, and it going to a top speed of 145 miles an hour, which I have no doubt is quicker than other sports cars from the time. Certainly quicker than the Fiat, but yeah, it never feels that quick. So let's see what we can do in terms of upgrades to hopefully make that a reality. We'll widen the tyres to give it that extra grip at the rear end, to hopefully make it not oversteer as much as it does. What can we do in terms of swapping stuff? Well, all of them are tempting, but yeah, I think that's far too much for what this car is. And twin turbocharging it is a bit complicated, so we'll leave that. We'll definitely upgrade the brakes though. Give it some sport brakes. Give it street suspension so it doesn't wobble around as much. Sport front and rear anti-roll bars. We'll knock out a little bit of weight as well. It's not obviously a heavy car, but less weight will at least make the launch better, and will obviously make it accelerate better as well as obviously handling wise. We'll upgrade the block to a 2.5 litre V6. Give it sportier valves. Give it a sportier intake. And an intake manifold as well. We won't give it a race carburetor. We don't need to make this car an inefficient vehicle to drive as well as a bad one. Can only do a race exhaust for some reason. And yeah, we'll go for street pistons and compression, and we'll lighten the flywheel as well to knock off a bit more weight, because obviously even though the weight is not the big issue, it's still an issue nonetheless in terms of acceleration. We'll also knock out some more weight with this race driving line. Yeah, we don't really need a new gearbox, to be honest. It's got enough gears, so there we go. Obviously a bit of an overhaul there. We've spent 23,350 credits, so not the cheapest amount of upgrades that we're given a car, but hardly the most as well. And yeah, we've knocked out a fair bit of weight. So let's take a look at the acceleration times before we get back to the circuit. So yeah, now we're doing 0 to 60 in 6.198 seconds, so we're nearly 2 seconds quicker to 60. We're now doing 0 to 100 in 16.473 seconds, so yeah, we're several seconds quicker to 100, and now we'll do 154 miles an hour, so we're about 9 miles an hour quicker at the top end, which yeah, is good. So let's get back onto the circuit and see what this car can now do. So we're still in C class, but our stats are a lot better, especially the launch and the acceleration. Braking and handling are marginally better as well, and yeah, the speed is improved as well. We've got 40 extra horsepower. I think we've got about 14 extra pounds-feet of torque. I can't quite remember how much torque it has, but we're only weighing 2,221 pounds now, so yeah, more than 100 pounds lighter. The weight distribution is a little bit better as well. It's 42% front now instead of 41, and obviously now we have 2.5 litres from its V6, so yeah, should hopefully be a bit more of a throaty engine on the go, and hopefully one that is at least more exciting to drive, even if, yeah, looks wise it's still not all that good, if at all. As you can see, even the Ferrari badge on this has been removed. It says Dino on the front, so yeah, technically it's a Ferrari, but they didn't even put a Ferrari badge on it, which kind of says a lot. But yeah, the launch is definitely better. We're not bogged down by a pathetic launch, giving us a far better acceleration off the line. Nowhere near as oversteering as last time. Sliding out a little bit, but yeah, nowhere near as much. Sounds a little better as well in terms of the engine noise, even though the revs haven't increased. It does seem to get to its revs a lot quicker as well. It seems as lethargic as before. Got up to about 100 miles an hour before we hit the finish line last time. As you can see, we're already doing that now. So yeah, definitely quicker in terms of gaining speed, and we're very nearly as quick as our fastest lap time in the stock vehicle, 1 minute 13.624. Only about 2 seconds off our fastest time in the stock car, which is, yeah, a clear improvement, especially over the first lap time that we had. It just sticks to the tarmac a lot better. Just can be a lot more confident into the corners, because you know you got the brakes to deal with any situation, and then also the grip gives you more confidence to just stick it into the apex. Even though on occasion it still does step out at the rear end, but I guess that's to be expected for a classic mid-engine car. Massively quicker than our fastest lap time there at 1 minute 6.834 seconds. Again, we've not done major upgrades here. We've only spent about 23,000 credits, which is not a lot in terms of upgrades, in terms of expense, and nor in terms of what we actually did. I know it's obviously a long list, but you know, we've not swapped engines out or drive lines, or you know, made it a turbocharged engine or anything like that. We've not even swapped the gearbox out. So yeah. Come on, are we going to be any faster on our final lap time? Yes, marginally, 1 minute 6.216 seconds, so yeah, we're more than 5 seconds quicker than we were in the stock car, which is a massive improvement. And yeah, it's an improvement also in terms of how this car feels to drive, as yeah, it sticks to the tarmac a lot better, it's less lethargic in terms of gaining revs, it's quicker at gaining speed, it's more confidence inducing in terms of sticking into the corners, it's got better brakes, it sounds a little bit better, and yeah, it's just generally a more enjoyable car to drive. Still not as good as a car to drive as, say, the Fiat Dino, but yeah, still a far better car than the stock vehicle is to drive, and yeah, definitely a more enjoyable one to drive as well. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's still got its big issues of looking the way it does, and yeah, still not being quite as fun as the Fiat Dino, because yeah, that car just really has a lot of charisma to it, and yeah, you really don't expect much from it being a Fiat, as well as, while this being a Ferrari, you expect pretty much the world from a Ferrari, and yeah, even with the mild upgrades we've given it, it still isn't quite there. But it is, again, like I said, far better than the stock version, and yeah, I highly recommend giving it a few upgrades if you actually do like this car, because you'll probably enjoy it even more. But nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.